Good morning, good afternoon. From steel pans to Jonnycake. Pretty cool. I'm Sandy Santee and I'm a deacon, and I have the honor of running the speaker series, and I'm here to say this is the last one for this year. Whew. So if you have any ideas or any suggestions for good speaker topics next fall, that'd be great. I'd love to know, because we had 3 this year. We had Jeff Matthews, who was our author, who came in September and talked about his book. In January, we had the panel discussion about healthcare issues and issues of life at the end. And now we're going to talk about Jonnycake and food insecurity. So if you have ideas for what might be wonderful in the fall, I would love to hear them, because I will be thinking about it all summer. I'm here to introduce Lee Eastbourne and Sarah Shaw, people that you might be very interested in meeting and probably are aware of and know. I work with Sarah Shaw at Jonnycake Center in the food bank, food pantry. I've been there about 4 years, enjoy it very much. Sarah is the director of food programs, and she's a URI grad with her focus on health studies. She makes it a great place to work. And Lee Eastbourne has been the executive director at Jonnycake since 2017, but he was working there years before as the development director, et cetera. And he was born and educated in England, which is also fun to hear because he has a fun accent. So I will let them do what they're going to do. They have mics, so we're going to make sure that they can be heard. We're going to let them do their thing first. They have some things to pass out as well, and then we'll take questions. It's an informal presentation, even though they're all dressed up. All right? Sarah and Lee.
Very good. How am I doing? Good. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for sticking around to listen to Lee and I talk about what we do and what we offer for services. I've been with the Jonnycake Center for about 8 years now, and day and night I can just say how much I love my job. I always say I wish it wasn't a job that needed to be done, but I'm very happy to be the one doing it. Our food pantry serves roughly, what did we say, 1,500?
About 1,100 households.
Thank you.
In the Westerly Cherry Hill region.
Yep. Our folks can visit our food pantry once every 30 days, and we offer about a week's worth of groceries when people come in. We remodeled several years back to make it a more welcoming place to be, so folks could come in and shop the shelves themselves. When they come in, they're first greeted by our fresh produce, because that's very important to me. It's near and dear to my heart. We have a little flyer for you guys to take with all of our information. In our last fiscal year, we gave out about 25,000 pounds of fresh produce. 3,800 of that we grew ourselves in our little local organic farm. We also offer, we have a pet pantry, we have a school kids program, so folks with families with school-age children, kindergarten through 12th grade, can come in on a weekly basis and get weekend groceries, which includes breakfast, lunch, snacks, fresh produce, and fresh milk. And then during school vacations, during the school year, it's amplified to serve for the week, and then in the summer, it's every week as well. We have a house and hygiene part of our pantry. You may or may not know that those supplies are not covered by people's SNAP benefit cards, and those are obviously a still very important part of daily life and feeling dignified, just as a human being on this planet. So that's a very, very important part of our pantry. Trying to think of what else I can tell you quick in a nutshell. I run our Given Garden as well in the Charlestown Ninnegrit Park, which is wonderful. We're very excited to have the new troll guests there. I started to joke, I was in that garden yesterday with a group from St. Andrew's Church, and I got to the point where I'm like, all right, people are gonna have to start donating $1 to the food pantry every time they stopped us from working to get directions to where the trolls were hidden. I think we're gonna have t-shirts made that say, the magic is finding him. But otherwise, yeah, it's one of those things. No one wants to have to ask for help. It's difficult to ask for help, but we try to make it the most, enjoyable experience that can possibly be when folks come in to use our food pantry. That's kind of the very quick version of what we do. Lee?
Yeah, absolutely. So the food assistance program, the food pantry, is really the nucleus of the organization. We are celebrating 50 years next year in 2025. We were founded in 1975 in Bradford by a group of volunteers who really saw a need in our local community. And obviously we have grown since then, and we've added programs, a thrift store, a social services office, but Sarah and her team really developed the nucleus of the organization and have allowed the center to grow and expand by adding additional programs, additional services to serve a population that are struggling, are in need in the Westerly and Charahoe region. A little bit of geography, we serve about 79% of our client base are Westerly-based residents, and that was really our impetus to move from Bradford to the north end of town in Westerly back in 2007. We very simply looked at our client base, looked at where our clients were coming to visit the centre in Bradford Farm, and made the decision based on knowing that the vast majority of our clients are Westerly-based residents, and again from there even deeper down, generally in the north end of town, so kind of Pierce, Pleasant Street area, really just the other side, literally the other side of the railroad tracks in Westerly is where you start to see those pockets of poverty, some lower moderate income there, and it was just happenstance that there was a building open and available for rent back in 2007, and that's been our home ever since, and we've been delighted that we were able to buy that building in 2021 and continue to grow our footprint in that building and offer additional services and programs to the community that are really in need of them.
Now that my nerves have settled in a little bit, I'm going to tell you a couple more things that our food pantry offers that I really am very proud of and want to make sure people are aware that we offer. We have a birthday program that operates out of our food pantry and our social service office. So if a family with children, same kind of age range as our Power Pack program, that's what the school kid program is called. If they have a birthday within the time that they're there between the next visit, they have little prizes down in the social service office, small gifts that the family can choose from just to brighten the day a little bit. And then we also have a little station where we offer cake mix and frosting and candles, gift bags, and sometimes there's the goodie bag kind of prizes, and that's all donated from the community. That's not something that we generally budget for or spend our funds on. But there's a couple groups in town that make sure that those shelves are always full. So that's a really cool thing that we have to offer. And it's a nice focused drive for people if they're thinking of like, what can I do to help? Birthday kits, we can all get behind kids having a happy birthday. And the other thing that I can personally take credit for are our recipe kits. It started out of not necessarily boredom, but a little bit of boredom and anxiety during the pandemic. We had to switch from our full client choice model, which is when people come in and choose what they want for their families, to here's your groceries. Every week or so throughout that process, we tweaked it a little bit to make it more choice than what it was at first. And one of those things that we started doing were the recipe kits, where we provide a good 90 to 100% of what people need to go home and try a new recipe. It has continued. It's been going for 4 years now. I haven't duplicated a recipe yet. We did circle back to a pumpkin cornbread recipe because it just paired really well with the sweet potato chili that we were making. I personally make most of the recipes first to make sure that they're written in a way that makes sense. I am getting a little feedback. Sorry, guys. And I also do a lot of vegetarian recipes, and I always say that with the caveat that it's not to push an agenda on folks. Hold on, I'm going to put this down because it's distracting me, so if it's distracting me, I'm assuming it's distracting you. Or now is it not going to work? Either way, I'm loud enough with that. So I do a lot of vegetarian recipes just to remind people that every meal doesn't have to include a meat. Meat can be very expensive. With my degree and my background, I'm able to use my knowledge and piece together recipes that still give the body the proteins or the amino acids that they need to still create proteins in their body. And it's really fun. We've had a couple folks come through and say it's the best meal they cook for themselves each month, and that can get me going. There is still the guy that tells me that the pizza recipe was his favorite, and it was really a kit, not a recipe, but you know what? It got him to cook for himself that night, and that works too. So we try to do a dessert in February for Valentine's Day. I sneak in black bean brownies, though, to still make it a healthy option. But it's really a kind of a cool thing that we've started to do. And I've promised my team that we will compile them for our 50th anniversary and make a little recipe book that people can copy and use at home.
So can you explain the Power Pack program during the year versus during the summer?
Yeah, so during the year it's for the weekend, long weekend, whatever that looks like. And then during the summer, it's for the week. And what's nice with that program, that was one of our last holdouts of groceries that we offered pre-bagged. And all of a sudden, it kind of dawned on me. I don't have any children myself, so I'm sorry to everybody, but it dawned on me, oh my gosh, I'm thinking of elementary school children. I am thinking of kindergartners and what they eat. And I looked at that bag going, what are the high school football boys gonna do? This is a snack for them. And it kind of just took one mom, and we would distribute to the schools. We would load up my car and we would number the bags for each family and send them to the schools. And it really, between my like, oh my gosh moment and one mom saying, why can't I just come here to get it? That was like, okay, can we please just bring this home? So in the schools, it was, they would have to bring it. And same with the summer program. Summer program, we would go out to different satellite sites in the community, which, you know, the mindset was in the right place. Our hearts were in the right place that we were gonna go to your community to provide. But we were there for 1 hour on a given day. So by bringing it home to the center, we were able to offer it whenever the families could come. We're closed on Sundays, so that's kind of our reset day. And families can come when it's appropriate for them, when they have the time to grab up those extra things they need for their kids. And the other beauty of it is every kid is different. Every child eats differently. You might have 4 kids and they each really like a different kind of cereal. Or if you have one little kid who likes his Lucky Charms, then you have the teenage daughter who is not gonna touch that with a 10-foot pole. They can come in, and it's a whole separate part of the pantry that they can then have a conversation with us. We can ask them about how old their children are, what their likes and dislikes are, and really, really make it cater to them and what their kids are gonna actually eat. Because there's no point in sending someone home with a bag of groceries that are just gonna sit there.
They come in Thursday and Friday, sort of.
Well, a lot of folks do come in Thursday night. That's what would make sense for me. I mean, I know when my parents came home with the groceries, it didn't matter if it was school lunches. We were diving in those bags to see what was in there anyway. But really, they can come any day of the week that works for them. Whenever they're in the neighborhood, can get a ride, et cetera. But yeah, it covers Saturday, Sunday for the general school calendar, and then again, if there's a long holiday, you know, a long weekend or a week-long during April and February and Christmas break. We always try to have fun stuff for those long breaks. Like we made sure we had cinnamon rolls in the freezer, or the fridge rather, for the kids for Christmas break, or waffles or stuff like that. But otherwise, it's, you know, it's some staples that most kids generally eat. And every once in a while, I put a poll out there. You kids sick of my mac and cheese? What else would you like to see on these shelves? So it's been really nice. It's a great conversation to have with the families that we serve. Oh my gosh, yes, thank you, Cindy. Cindy is also my assistant manager, right hand, most of my brain. Wonderful, wonderful woman, sorry to call you out. Yeah, so we have a homebound program. So that's our delivery program. That started a few years back. We kind of started pulling files and looking through like, who's signed up and hasn't been here in a while? Let's give them a call and ask them why. And it comes down to a few different things. One, transportation. If you've ever needed a bus in this town, you know it's not a thing. So transportation is a huge issue for a lot of our families. Sometimes it's medical conditions, physical disabilities that prevent them from being able to get to the center. So we have about 20 households signed up right now. We deliver the first 2 Fridays of every month. We have a spreadsheet I'll go through first thing Monday morning, make sure it's accurate to what we have on the shelves, fridge and freezer. And our lovely social service office workers will give those folks a call, run through the whole grocery list, take their order, ask for any special requests at the end, and we do our best to accommodate and pack them and deliver them out on Fridays. So, thank you. Yeah?
How often can a person get food?
Great. It is once every 30 days. So, if you were to come in on, you know, June 1st, your next time you'd be able to come in is July 1st. We offer a week's worth of groceries in that trip. But food pantries aren't, you know, mutually exclusive. We want people to go to every single site that they can that serves their area. A lot of it's, you know, regional, and they, you know, you can visit Rycan, you can visit all the different pantries in the area to make sure you're covered. We also do offer an abbreviated version. If someone just can't make it through, we have what's considered an emergency order, and that's kind of like just a couple days worth. There's of course a grace period. If someone's, I think we do like a 4-day window. If you're within like 3 or 4 days early of your set time, you can still come in and shop. And of course, you can always come in late.
Where do you get most of your food?
Great question. So our first line of shopping is with the Rhode Island Community Food Bank. They have not charged us for food since the pandemic, and it doesn't seem like they're gonna change that. We only pay for the house hygiene and cleaning supplies that we buy for them. From them. And so they're wonderful. They're good for the staples. That's where I'm going to get my rice. That's where I'm going to get our pasta and our canned tomatoes and things like that. So they've been wonderful with providing that for us. Our thrift store truck goes out 2 times a week to our local grocery stores that are part of a fresh rescue program. And what that means is before things get close to their expiration date, with meat and dairy and things, well, not so much dairy, but with the meats and products like that, they will freeze it for us so it doesn't go to waste. And we pick it up and rescue it to make sure it gets, to the people that need it. What else do we have? I have a wholesale account with Rock's Fresh Produce. They are an incredible company to work with. On average, over the year, it costs us about $1 a pound to buy in the produce that we want to have for folks. The food bank has always offered us free produce. Same thing, and generally speaking, they're giving us the basics. But during the season, and especially for my recipe kits, we want to make sure everybody has a nice variety of fresh produce to eat. And then, yeah, I'll get to that one too. And then holiday programs. Sorry, guys. I was going to be brief, but then you realize, wow, we offer a lot to the community. And then public donations, of course. We do food drives all the time. There's the Boy Scout drive, the Stamp Out Hunger with the Postal Service, so things like that. So food is coming in through all of those means. Dollar Tree has been incredible lately too.
We don't just put it on the shelf.
No, there's a rigorous process that we make sure that the dates are good, that the overall condition is good. Every once in a while, I set up a little game for us to play, and I set up all sorts of things on a bench, and it's like, what's wrong with it? Or what's right with it? And we have to do little things, and I give out prizes for whoever has the most correct answers. Sometimes those are really tricky. But yeah, so we run, with our produce that we grow in our farm, we run a free farmer style market from the beginning of July through August. And that's pretty incredible. It's every Wednesday morning. We're trying to make it more for the entire community and not just our client base. Again, fresh produce or produce in general is one of the most important parts of our diet. It's what keeps us healthy. Food is medicine, and that's right up there at the top. So having people line up at 8:30 in the rain when the market doesn't start until 9 to get their fruits and veggies, that's right in my heart. So that's a pretty cool thing. We rent a big old tent. It's right in our back parking lot. Volunteers run it with me. I got a grant last year through Strategic Help that we're able to get again this year, and I will have a high school and a college student help run that program. They were incredible. They'll also help work in our farm, but that's one of my favorite things to do. It's a lot of work. There was one day I got 3 miles in between the tent and our refrigerator door, and that was with a team of people helping me. So it's fantastic. Like I said, a lot of work, but well worth it. And if you don't mind sitting for another minute, did you have a question on that before I move on?
Not on that.
Yeah, go ahead, either.
So what's the best way that this church could help Jonnycake?
So you guys are already nailing it, I would like to say. We've set up a whole page for you on our donation log because you give so generously with grocery donations. But really just keep spreading the word of what we do, what we offer, and how you can help. So food donations, of course, are super helpful. Monetary donations always help. I have a lot of buying power. And then your time. If those 2 things don't fit into your lifestyle, we have volunteer opportunities that is worth, it's priceless to us. We have volunteer and I actually have a couple applications up here, as well as the volunteer coordinators business cards. We have opportunities in the pantry, in the thrift store, and in our garden. So those are really the main ways that you can continue to help support the Jonnycake Center. Yeah.
How much do you spend on food that you have to buy per year?
Luckily, because of our grant writer and our incredible thrift store, I have a nice healthy budget to shop to make sure that we do have the things that we need on the shelves. I don't have that number off the top of my head. It might be in the infographic. Lee knows it.
So generally we have around about $145,000 a year food purchase budget.
And that does include our holiday food purchases.
Does that include meat?
Yes. Yes.
What's your whole budget?
So just, a very quick breakdown of our financials, and then if I could just go back to your question over there regarding support of the organisation. So we operate on a July 1 to June 30th operating year, so we're coming into kind of, 3rd, 4th quarter. We are currently budgeted to do $2.1 million worth of revenue this coming year, and we're working stringently on our new budget for July 1st of this year, which will show an increase. Related to the thrift store, kind of support-wise, The thrift store, we have two general areas of revenue sources for the centre. One is our thrift store, which is scheduled or budgeted to do $1 million this year. And then on the other side is our development arm, which is grants, individual giving, and fundraising events. So just back to your question, sir, supporting the thrift store is something that we very much encourage. The great thing about the thrift store revenue that we generate is it's unrestricted. A lot of our development funding that we receive is more towards program and services, so the food pantry, social service programs, educational programs that we may have. But of course, owning a building and having a 50-member staff right now, there is occupancy and utility expenses that I'm sure you're all seeing increasing. Payroll, of course, is a large line item, but the thrift store revenue that we generate is unrestricted funding that allows us to do kind of the non-sexy items, if you will, kind of the payroll, those types of things, but allow us to do what we do on the service side of things. So yes, that's generally where we are. Everything that we make in the thrift store revenue-wise above expenses goes right back into the organisation on the social services and food pantry side of things. And that's generally, support-wise, we're spending about 86 cents of every dollar that comes into the organisation is going right back out. So we have about a 14% administration cost. And for those that are potentially interested or would like to know, there's an organisation out there called GuideStar, and we have to provide our 990 to the government every year, and that is then, you know, taken by GuideStar to give you a rating. And generally, your administration costs, a good barometer is 20%, and the lower you go from there, generally, the better. Foundations and grantors will look at that information. If you see an organisation that's 25, 30, 35% of operating costs, you start to think that salaries are too high or operating expenses are too high. So if you're under that 20% and Jonnycake is in that 14, 15%, that shows that we're a financially healthy organisation, but we're also doing the mission of the centre, which is helping folks in need.
And I'd like to comment on that. We couldn't keep that number so low without our volunteers. Our volunteer force is just amazing, absolutely amazing.
I know you work with St. Vincent de Paul and also the warm shelter, so you give out a lot of financial aid.
We do.
You haven't talked about that at all.
No, it's outside of my wheelhouse professionally and personally, but we do offer financial assistance for rent, heating, other small bills that come up that are just out of the ordinary for folks that are on a restricted budget.
Yeah, just to elaborate on that.
We collaborate with other agencies to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Collaboration is absolutely key for us as a centre. Working with WARM, with Wood River Health on the medical assistance side of things, Pawcatuck Neighbourhood Centre, St. Vincent de Paul. So we generally support the necessities of the household, which are generally the 5 things. Housing, which would be a rental or mortgage payment, winter heating oil, utilities, medical needs, and education. And our financial assistance budget is around about $110,000 to $115,000 a year. That includes $6,000 worth of scholarships to graduating high school seniors from both Chariho and Westerly.
And there is an application process for that. We want to make sure the person that is receiving financial assistance is sustainable otherwise. We wouldn't be good stewards of a resource if we were constantly paying the same person's rent every month. So there is a process that folks go through to make sure that this is a hiccup and not, an oncurring issue for them. So that is good to know as well. You had a question?
I was just curious which grocery stores help you.
Oh, thank you. That is very important to know. So our 3 main local grocery stores, or 4 actually. So Fresh Rescue is Walmart, Stop and Shop, and Aldi's. And then McQuaid's also donates those bags. They do come to us. So when you buy those bags at McQuaid's, they come to us and a couple other local agencies. So it's, we support them and they support us, which is really, really nice. Yeah?
Would you comment, I've heard from different people that, let's say I want to make Jonnycakes and pick some soup, some product.
Yeah.
Am I better off from your frame of reference to give you a dollar bill or go buy a can of soup myself and give you a can of soup?
That's a great question. Honestly, there's no right or wrong answer to that. Every little bit helps us, where I'm able to order, our staples en masse and things like that. Getting the odds and ends and making the shopping experience more normal for folks, the condiments, the coffee and tea, that kind of stuff is huge and very helpful. So it's really whatever's in your heart, whatever you're moved to do, helps us immensely. Just can't take fresh meat or dairy. Those things do have to come directly from a grocery store. But if you have a garden at home and your zucchini goes berserko, we can take that. We can take that all the time.
Because I've done
Yeah.
that too. I've shopped and taken a bag or two in and then thought, really, if I gave Sarah a check for 50 or 100, she could probably make that go a lot
Yeah.
further than me buying the Cinnamon Toast Crunch or whatever.
But it's, like I said, it's both helpful. It's really both helpful. Those buy one, get one free sales are great for that. We get a lot of random bags of potatoes when they're buy one, get one free, because we don't always need 10 pounds of potatoes, but they're gonna give them to you, so it's a nice opportunity to grab that sale and still have it not go to waste. Yeah,
So how do your clients qualify or come
Sure.
to you?
Yep.
Social service recommendations?
absolutely. So they will come to our social service office first and fill out a very short application. We need proof of ID, a photo ID, proof of residency, and a financial statement of some sort. And the financial part isn't to qualify for the food pantry. It does not matter how much money a person makes or does not make to get food services. That goes into that financial assistance part of it. We need something on record to see that you are sustainable before we pay your rent. So it's really just, you fill out that application. People can get food services the same day. We also have folks that don't have all the pieces that they need, but they can get that process started and still come see us and get their groceries. Does that answer the question? You had a question back? Yeah.
Sorry, if I could just very, very briefly add.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to explain the difference between kind of the requirements for financial assistance as opposed to the food pantry is, again, on the service side of things, when funders are serving the organisation, individuals are giving to the centre, we have a lot of reporting that we need to provide through our development office to those funders to ensure that their funding is going in the right direction towards sustainable individuals, because if they're potentially giving a $50,000 or $100,000 check on an annual basis, they want to be sure that their money, we're honouring the donor's intent of that money being going to serve and to be a very, very useful form of funding, as opposed to potentially a household that may find themselves back in the same situation on a regular basis. Thank you, sorry.
I'm just trying to understand, how can we support the thrift center?
Sure.
Go shopping.
Yes.
Go shopping, clean out your closet.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is open to
The public.
to go shopping.
100%.
It's gotta be on some kind of an income level.
Nope.
No. Yeah,
That's a great, that's a great question and a common misconception that the thrift store is just for the clients of the pantry. It's for everybody.
The second
That's
misconception folks generally have as well is that is thrift stores, consignment stores, that their items are of low quality. That's very much not the case. We have a very, very high barometer of items. So many, many new tagged, still unopened boxed ticketed items that come through the store. Very, very gently used. You can donate to the centre as well. Again, everything that we sell in the thrift store, which is about 7,000 square feet of shopping floor, is donated to the centre. We don't purchase anything to resell, so it's all through the generosity of the community. So if you are thinking of donating to the centre, we respectfully ask that, if it's something that you think may need to go in the trash or to the transfer station, it probably should, because again, very respectfully, if it comes to us and we have to then take it to the trash or to the transfer station, we have significant trash removal, recycling removable, and transfer station fees to the region of $20,000 to $25,000 annually. So if it comes to us and then we need to get rid of that, then it's an expense on the other side, and then obviously we can't then sell it in the thrift store to generate the revenue that we need to do for the service side of things.
And as an organization, we're so passionate about keeping stuff out of the garbage that we actually have a new group of volunteers at Stonington Middle School that are part of the transition program, and they are our menders. So things that have buttons missing, a spot on it, like that's how rigorously the clothing and items are checked by our clothing volunteers. The zipper's broken, things like that. Sometimes it's just so wrinkled it just wouldn't appear nice on a hanger. Those things are collected, weighed and or counted, because we want to know the poundage of things we are keeping out of the landfill, or shipped off to Planet Aid, which I won't get into. And those young folks go through and they will get the spots out, they'll iron it, they'll fix the button, and then it comes back onto the floor and gets to be sold. So they're great kids. I actually am one of the young ladies is going to be one of the students that works in the farm this summer. And she doesn't know it yet, but we're really excited about
Just
that.
to also touch, sorry, so I'll
No.
if I could just elaborate one more. On the donor intent side of things, it's very much the same on the thrift store side of things. So we do our very, very best to keep as much as we possibly can that comes into the store within a reachable area for the whole community. So 90+% of the items that are in the thrift store are $2 to $3 and below. We do have a small section where items that come in that are a little more expensive. Furniture, of course, we aren't able to sell furniture for $2 or $3. But again, it's a donor intent side of things because we do get questions every now and then about our pricing. If a $300 sideboard come in, for example, it's very, very difficult for us to honour that donor's intent by putting it on the floor for $15 or $20. Our pricing is still, we do a lot of comparison shopping with other non-profit organisations, thrift stores, consignment stores, and we're routinely at the very, very bottom on the price-wise, but at the very, very top on the quality-wise side of things. So honouring that intent of the donor, knowing that a piece that comes into the centre or a piece of clothing or a pair of shoes, that type of thing, will be priced appropriately based on your donation, but also to reach the clientele that the public, which is open to the public, that we see on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Two things. My wife and I just sold our house. We must have made at least 12 to 15 trips to the Jonnycake Center.
Thank you.
The guys came out, they emptied our vehicle, brought everything in, no questions asked. It was fantastic.
They're great.
My question is, as far as the Westerly Training Center, is there any collaboration between the two organizations?
There has been, yes, and we're looking to get that back. So before the pandemic hit, we had a Real Jobs Rhode Island program, which was an initiative between the previous governor, Governor Raimondo, and the State Department of Labour and Training. And we had a training program on site at the centre that we also utilised working with the Westerly Education Centre, the Ocean Community Chamber of Commerce, which was a program designed to elevate folks back to a level to get them back into the working world. That's changed obviously during the pandemic where folks still are out of work. The perception or the push now is to get folks back into work. But for us it was a program that worked on soft skills, interviewing techniques, resume writing, digital literacy. For those folks that were maybe just a very slightly below the education level required to get into a full-time or part-time year-round position. And that was the key here in a seasonal town like Westerly, where there's lots of jobs and kind of temporary work and employment in the summertime, but then September hits, as we know, September, October, the population drops, a lot of the beach communities and hospitality jobs disappear, and we're back to kind of regular Westerly population, if you will. So the push was year-round, permanent, either part-time work to supplement another part-time position, or full-time work and all of the benefits that come along with that. Unfortunately, there has been no talk of that program coming back into Westerly from the state at this point, but we are pushing hard there, and we have just instituted a kind of a small education class to get some of the individuals that were in those programs or looking to get back into the world of work, kind of a little small 1 hour, 2 hour snapshot program that we just launched last week, I believe. So if you look on our social media, there'll be something coming out on our email channels in the next couple of weeks or so. We'll be highlighting that opportunity for folks to get back into the world of work.
Another important thing a service that we offer that neither one of us have brought up yet is our voucher program. So we talked about the thrift store being for the public, but it is also for our clients. And on scheduled times throughout the year, folks that receive services from us can get vouchers to shop in our thrift store. So it's quarterly for clothing for themselves and their children. It used to just be twice a year, but then it kind of dawned on us, like, kids grow like weeds, so they need seasonal clothing. Whatever fit them this summer isn't going to fit them probably when they go back to school in the fall. So they're able to do that. We have a Dress to Success or like a special occasions voucher, prom dresses, weddings, funerals, things like that, interview clothing. There's a furniture voucher, a household needs voucher, so you need a coffee pot, or that might not be on the actual list, but you know what I mean. So there's ways for our folks to be able to utilize the thrift store even if they don't have cash on hand to do so. Another thing to mention about our trucks, as far as dropping stuff off, our trucks will pick up for free.
Yes.
And deliver for a small charge. So our team of drivers are incredible. If you've ever met Jared at the back door, you know that he's a sweetheart, and he's always there to help. That's like another thing that we offer folks to make sure that they are, well fed, well read, and well dressed. Anything else? Otherwise, I don't want to forget to touch on our holiday program. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm in charge of the angel tree, and
Perfect
I
segue.
would like you to explain, during COVID, we had to go from gifts to cards, gift cards.
Correct.
Explain why you kept that.
May I?
It's very.
I'm very passionate about this one.
Absolutely.
Not to step on my boss's toes, but I'm very, very passionate about this. I know it was a hard change for everybody. We all like giving, we like shopping, we like picking out things. It's fun for us. But what happens, after doing that first year and getting the letters back, we provide the families with a thank you letter, an anonymous letter that they can thank their donors. The feedback that we got from changing to gift cards was so overwhelmingly positive, we felt like we couldn't go back. So one of the main things we had to kind of correct the mindset on is, shy of maybe that Sephora gift card in the teenager's stocking, the families aren't handing their families gift cards. It's empowering the families to go shopping for themselves, to provide the holiday experience for their family. I have been part of that program since the beginning. I know what it looked like to go to the North Pole and shop for folks and put those physical gifts together and distribute it that way. And it was wonderful. It really, really was. But the heartbreaking side of that a lot of people don't see is, and again, it's hard to ask for help. I want to set that as the base. It's hard to ask for help. And so you've gotten yourself to the point where you've sucked it up and you've asked for help and you signed up for gifts for your 10-year-old son. And you bring your black trash bag home of goodies, because we don't wrap things. We want the families to be able to wrap them themselves, so to be able to sneak them in the house. They're in a black bag. And you open that black bag and there's a bunch of toddler clothes. So now you've already had to ask for help, which was hard. And now you have to go back to the people that helped you and say, this isn't right. This isn't for my kid. And that's heartbreaking. And a lot of times the way the program was set up, that could have happened on December 22nd. And now that program is closed and we're scrambling upstairs to try to piece together what is appropriate in our eyes to serve that child. So by switching it to gift cards, we can really fine-tune what the families want to see under their tree for their child. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but we do have some incredible information on how much money stayed in our local community with this program. It wasn't all Visa gift cards, it wasn't Amazon, it was local businesses that we were able to support. And things like that. And then for my side of it, the food side of it is even, again, because that's the world that I live in, strikes home even harder for me. So it was great. We would order 750 turkeys, and Stop and Shop was kind enough to not make me take all 750 at a time, and we'd go pick up whatever we need. Thanksgiving was a one-day distribution. Volunteers would come in, we would all feel good, we'd line up like an assembly line and pack those bags. And it was staples, it was basics, it was, what most people do to get people through for the holiday. Food is so personal, and Thanksgiving is so personal, and my Thanksgiving looks different than yours, from yours, from yours, and yours. And it's also one of those holidays that we tend to commune, to have, right? We go to Aunt's house, we go to Grandma's house, and my big thing is, well, what if your job is to bring the appetizer? Well, my bag had corn and stuffing and some potatoes and green beans. And again, it's food and it's going to nourish you, but it's not really the joy of that holiday. So by providing those gift cards to go purchase the groceries that make sense to you and your, I don't like turkey, how about that one? To be able to provide that personalized experience for the holiday, it just means a lot. It means a lot to us. So I will fight that one till the end. Yes. And then you start thinking,
that's the one good thing about this.
Also, like there's so many kids out there, unfortunately, right now with some issues, underlying issues, sensory issues. You know what I mean? That shirt is really pretty, but it's scratchy. and my kid's not gonna wear it, and then it ends up, you know, in the back of the closet or whatever. So it's hard for us who wanna give and pick out the things, but it really is so empowering to the families on the receiving end. And there's still fun ways to do the angel trees and things like that. Stocking stuffers all day long. We always put out stocking stuffers that come in and things like that, or the birthday program. If you really love just picking out a couple prizes for kids, you can donate them to that birthday program, and it's still open shelving that people can choose, you know, what is appropriate for their child. I know it's tough, I'm sorry, but again, I'm very passionate about this change that we've made.
This is gonna sound very negative, but I've tried to convince people, like on the angel tree, to give stuff, and they say, I won't give gift cards. They're just gonna go cash them in and use the money on drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, that's a heartbreaking mindset. We've done our best to try to kind of correct that. Many of the stores that we offer gift cards to don't offer those things. And again, the families that are trying to provide for their children really want to provide for their children. They want that moment under the Christmas tree, you know. So it's something we're all working on kicking out of our brains, you know.
It's also, we say this, I say this in Pantry on there, 98% of the people
Yeah.
are awesome.
Oh, I
There
agree.
are 2 or 3% I'd like to take outside and just have a moment. Are you kidding me?
Right,
Yeah.
and that can be said for everywhere,
Yes.
right?
Just,
Yeah.
They're
You
amazing.
see the abuse all the way up and down the kind of the social and the wealth ladder. It's done at the large corporations on a massively greater scale than what you see for kind of a small non-profit, which Jonnycake are. And, you know, nice segue in actually. We're still considered a small non-profit, and the great thing about that is, one, we're very forward-thinking of an organisation, so we're always looking at new programs, new services. But to Sarah's point earlier on related to the Power Pack program, we also can react very quickly to a change, which is why we brought the Power Pack program back in-house. We made the change to the gift card program based on client feedback, and that's generally how we change or we add a service of the centre, is based on, so we are built to serve a population in need, and if we don't take that client feedback, that with the greatest respect, I'm not in that position that maybe a client is coming to us on their very worst day of their month. And it's one issue on top of another issue, on top of a third, a fourth, or a fifth, or a sixth in that household. And potentially one of those issues comes off the plate, and the next one hits them in the face the next day or the next hour. So it's all about the client for the centre and reacting to that particular need. And I can clarify that number actually. We had about $175,000 worth of revenue that went back into the community, with the vast majority of that to local businesses, the Remy's, the United Theatres, the Get Fired Ups, the Washington Trust skating rink. So it's supporting local business, and that's what Jonnycake is. We're a non-profit here in town. As much as we possibly can do, we keep everything local within kind of a 15, 20 mile, you know. Our printing is done in Westerly and Mystic. Our insurance company is here in town. When we get gas for the truck, it's at Ginger's because they support us. We try and do everything we possibly can to keep our support, which is $2 million almost, that's going out into the community because we generate the revenue, it's going right back out. You know, I think sometimes the perception is, and I'm not speaking for folks in this room, but a lot of perceptions sometimes related to non-profits are we're take organisations. But we do a huge amount of good for a population in need, but also to serve local community, local business with the revenue that we're spending here in Westerly Chariho.
And just briefly too, the kind of like the food side of that mindset of, you know, people abusing their privileges or abusing the systems, if you will. Again, I'll go back to my statement of, you know, it's hard to ask for help. And I like to remind people that the application to receive SNAP benefits is 44 pages long. So if you filled that out, you probably really need that food assistance.
Don't worry, I'm not going to do anything with that one.
Yep, so for that one person that's going to sneak an extra box of mac and cheese, you know, we're not going to worry too much about it.
Any other questions? Do you have more faces?
I mean, I can go on for hours, but
We could.
clearly we're very passionate about what we do.
Get all the things we need to hit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.